Hello, everyone. This is your host, Debra Poneman, and I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Suzanna Kennedy. Suzanna, known as the Graceful Transformation Expert, is an author and radio host and a frequent guest speaker on the topics of conscious evolution, energy medicine, healing, relationship, and transformation. In 1998, Suzanna left a successful 18-year career as a corporate training consultant to establish her own institute. And for the past 15 years, she's guided thousands of people on their pathway to paradise. She's recognized as a leader in the evolution of human consciousness and specializes in graceful transformation. As a visionary and reality architect, Suzanna offers a grounded, systematic approach to moving through accelerated change with grace and ease. And today you're going to discover the 3 fundamental steps to graceful transformation, an exact blueprint for building your personal paradise, the 6 core issues you must deprogram from your subconscious mind, a simple, systematic approach to subconscious deprogramming, and she's also going to conduct a mini workshop where she's actually going to take us through the 6 core issues to find out how they're manifesting in our lives. So, Suzanna, this sounds very, very full, very exciting. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the call.
Aloha, Debra, and thank you for the invitation to be on your show. I'm really honored to be in the company of so many esteemed teachers and people that you bring together here. And I'm excited to share the pathway to paradise with you. It's become so clear to me that the urgency to personally transform is far more essential than it's ever been before. And it's obvious that the world as we know it is kind of falling apart at the seams, and I wonder if some of you have this challenge facing you right now. But the good news is that at the same time the old world is falling apart, a new world is emerging from the ashes like a phoenix, and it's a new world we can co-create together. But it's going to take new thinking and new decisions and new actions. As a matter of fact, Mother Earth herself is inviting us to come along and collaborate and partner with her. And it's time that we took back that role of good earth stewardship that worked so well up until just about 300 years ago. And it's really a matter of survival at this point. We can't hit the snooze button again. It's time to wake up. And if you're here on that call today, I know that you already know that, or you wouldn't be here. So, Debra, the question is, how do we make a graceful transformation into paradise and make it quickly?
Well, I love what you said, that Mother Earth needs us to collaborate with her, and I know that you're going to help us collaborate. And I would love for you to tell us how to make a graceful transformation, but if you don't mind, I would love to know first how you came to create the pathway to paradise. And I know you have these amazing abilities, and I am curious if you were born with this knowledge or did it come to you with a conscious awakening? Can you tell us just a little bit about your journey first, and then we'll go into graceful transformation?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, the universe has a funny way of setting things up. And I really believe that all of us are born into the perfect situation, and we set ourselves up for all the experiences we need to fulfill our soul's purpose. I personally was born in Detroit, Michigan, the Motor City. And now I live in the beautiful, lush Garden Isle of Hawaii, Kauai. It's truly a paradise here. So I've experienced my pathway to paradise. But how did I get here? When I was a young child, everything was alive and speaking to me. For me, the plants, the animals, my dolls, my toys, even the furniture, everything was alive. I was like Snow White in a Disney movie. And my dolls told me things that no one else seemed to know. And these things would come true. And this really freaked my mother out. It scared her. And my father would just roll his eyes and say, she has a very active imagination, in that kind of tone that let me know that he didn't believe any of it. And when I asked my dolls why he couldn't hear them and why he didn't see the kind of things that I was seeing, he said, or the dolls told me, well, he doesn't believe that we're alive. So we're not real to him in his reality. So from a very young age, 3 or 4, the connection between what people believe and how they experience their reality was a fascination to me. And when I was 6, something happened that shut everything down. My mother lost sight of me in the backyard one summer day, and she came rushing out of the house. She was in a hysterical panic, screaming my name. And when she found me, I was just on the other side of this big sand pile. She grabbed my shoulders and she hugged me, and then she shook me, and then she hugged me, and, where have you been? And this big missile of energy is the best way for me to describe it. It just went from her chest into mine, and my little body just kind of hunched over at the impact. And, I didn't understand any of it at the time. But years later, during a healing session with an intuitive, I found out that she transferred a repressed memory from her childhood into me. And what I found out was that my mom had been sexually abused when she was about 6, but she repressed the memory. And that when she couldn't find me, it triggered that memory, and she was in a panic. She thought I was in danger. And so that's when I learned, during that intuitive session, that we carry a lot inside of us that isn't even from our own experience. Some of our defensive, constrictive behaviors come from our parents' experience, not ours. Trauma can be passed down through the generations. And that experience actually shut down my emotional body. And I lost my ability to hear and see my magical friends, who I believe were my spirit guides and teachers. And of course, I was devastated. I felt abandoned. I felt lonely. And as I grew up, my spine actually grew in that kind of hunched over position and posture. So I think that was like a subconscious strategy on my part to protect my heart. And, what are you, the people on the call, what are you carrying in your subconscious from your ancestors? Now, my parents were married in the 1950s. So as a little girl, I was programmed to get married and have children. So we all have programming, what's yours? So I was married by the time I was 19, and I had 2 children close together in my early 20s. So I was living my programming and feeling very unfulfilled. I wasn't feeling like I should have according to the programming. Even though I loved being with my kids, I felt like I needed more stimulation. So adult stimulation, I guess. So I volunteered to coach new expectant mothers. And since I lived in the Motor City, there were a lot of men being transferred from all over the world into these management and engineering jobs at the big 3 automotive companies. So there were a lot of these young couples, and they were having babies, no local family to support them. So I started out coaching the couples and then leading groups. And then one day, the program director said, "Hey, Suzanna, you are the only group leader who's been able to keep the dads involved. In the other groups, the dads come to the first meeting and then they don't come back. Can you train our group leaders to keep the dads coming back?" And I was like, wow, I was surprised. I didn't know that there was any difference. And, and I was honored. And then right around that same time, I took a course at the local adult ed program called Introduction to Microcomputers. So this was even before PCs were invented. And anyway, the instructor pulled me aside and said, Suzanna, you're always the first one done with the assignments, and you're helping everyone else around you. I think you'd make a great teacher. Would you teach this class for me? So that's how I started my career as a trainer. I got my bachelor's degree. It took 9 years while I was raising my kids, going part-time. And then I got my master's. It's a master's of science in instructional and performance technology. And the work was so natural for me, and I did very well, and I achieved a very high degree of success in my field. And before I left, the training that I had designed for Ford Motor Company had gone out to over 50,000 people in 104 different countries, and it was translated into 14 different languages. So even with all this success, I should have felt fulfilled according to my programming, but I wasn't. My children, by this time were in their teens. They were always out with their friends. They were never home. My husband and I, we just weren't really having anything in common anymore, and we'd been drifting apart. And I had this ache in my heart, and I kept asking, was I really put on this earth to teach men how to run car dealerships? I don't think so. There's got to be something more. And then I guess it was the answer to that question. One Saturday morning, I woke up with this intense, fiery energy moving up my spine in waves. And my backbone was actually kind of undulating on the bed. And it was, electric and fiery and scary. And I cried out, "Oh my God, what's happening? What's happening?" And I heard a voice answer. It was very calm. And it said, "You are giving birth to yourself. Just breathe." So I did the Lamaze breath, the birthing breath that I had learned and taught so many. And it took about an hour and a half for the energy to subside. And when I did, I felt like a completely different person. And I knew that whoever I thought I was up until that moment was not who I really was. And I could sense a vastness of my being. And I recognized that my former self-identity was just a collection of programmed beliefs. And I knew that I needed to somehow delete all that programming from myself if I wanted to be the real true me and do what I came here to do. And I realized that this new, improved, expanded version of me had just been birthed into my body. And this new me had a purpose, something very specific to accomplish. And from that moment on, I was completely mission-driven. And my emotional body opened back up, and my ability to hear my guides and see energy returned. So I was ecstatic. And I was guided to a man named Adam David, who had a healing modality that helps me to deprogram my subconscious and detox my emotional body. And that, in turn, raised my vibration. So going through that detox allowed me to gracefully walk out of my old life and create a new one. And I found out, or it became clear to me, that my soul contract with my husband was complete. So I was actually meant to make this change at that time. I got certified in Adam's healing modality in Sedona, Arizona, and then I moved there. And synchronicity expanded so much in my life that everything seemed magical again. And people were naturally attracted to the deprogramming sessions, and the energy flowed so naturally that a healing practice just kind of took shape around me. It just did. And my intuition and my inner guidance was prompting me to visit many of the sacred sites around the world where I received information, activations, sacred initiations. As a matter of fact, I then spent like 2 years and about $100,000 following my guidance. But it was so worth it, because after receiving an information download, I was in the cathedral in Chartres, France. My guidance told me to consider myself pregnant. It said that there was a gift for the world that was going to be born through me. And sure enough, like 9 months to the date, I birthed a consciousness technology that allows me to help other people embody their own human divinity gracefully. And it was at that point that I moved here to the island of Kauai. And over the next year, then I used my skills as an instructional designer to take all the downloads of information and all the activations and initiations that I had experienced and organize them all into a step-by-step program so that I could help as many people as possible on their pathway to paradise, because as I discovered, that was my mission. And I went through the program myself first, of course, and then when that was complete, I was ready to call in my sacred union partner. So within 6 weeks, my beloved Casey answered the call all the way from St. Louis into this tiny island in the middle of the Pacific. And we've been together for 12 years now. And Debra, we are absolutely loving our version of paradise on earth.
Well, that was quite the story from beginning to end. And from the time that you were a little girl communicating with your dolls, which is so fascinating, to having an experience where the abilities came back to you. And we want what you have. So I had promised everyone that we'd go back to you explaining what is graceful transformation, because I know it is the key to your approach. Can you tell us what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, let's first look at the word transformation. I'm talking about big change, not little incremental, upgrades and, little things. It's like when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly, it's like a whole different being, right? So I'm talking about fundamental change. And we're going from a culture that's steeped in separation consciousness, in fear, in lack, in poverty, to a new paradigm, which is going to be the foundation of it is going to be unity, love, and abundance for all. So that's a big shift. Now, graceful, what do I mean by that? Well, all of us are meant to go through this transformation, everyone who's been attracted to your calls and the work that you do. So we're going to go through it, and we can go through it either kicking or screaming, or we can choose the graceful path. So the non-graceful way would be to ignore the intuitive messages that you're probably already getting to change something in your life. And you could ignore it until your higher self or the universe or whatever you want to call it decides to make the change for you. And some of you may have already experienced this, where you've gotten some kind of intuitive message or red flag, and you've dismissed it because, well, maybe that's just my imagination, or I'm too busy to deal with that now. And we all have self-identities, ways that we identify ourselves through our jobs, our relationships, our children, our functions, our roles, or our status in the community. But our higher selves want us to know the truth, that we are so much more than that. And so if the universe, your higher self, can't get through to you for you to make the changes gracefully, it's going to make them for you. So you might get laid off from that job that you feel so identified with, or divorced from that long-term relationship, or something happens to your kids. And it's a transformation. and it happens fast. And maybe eventually you see the gift in it, but it's not graceful. So graceful transformation is when you consciously choose that you've had enough of the way things are. You know there's more to life and what it has to offer, and you're actively creating the space and the time and looking for the resources for the best technology, for the best guidance, for the best support that you can, because you know time is running out. So, Debra, thank you for gathering people here who are at this choice point right now.
Yes, and thank you so much for defining what that graceful transformation is, and because that's what we want to be doing, and because we want to not only transition to this new earth gracefully, but we want to not be an obstruction for the energy that you spoke about earlier, collaborating with Mother Earth. But you also talk about 3 fundamental steps that we need to take in order to achieve the transformation gracefully, or to create our version of paradise on earth. Can you go a little bit further and give us those 3 fundamental steps?
Right. Well, the first step I've already been talking about a little bit is deprogram your subconscious mind and detox your emotional body. So to raise your vibration. And we'll go into that more deeply. But for that, I created the Emotional Mental Detox Program. The second step, after you've gotten rid of what isn't you, is you embody and express your own human divinity. Your divine DNA is already inside you, but it's lying dormant and it's waiting for activation, and it'll be activated when you're at that right vibration that activates it. And then you need to learn how to use those new abilities that will come online. So the Divine Human Upgrade Program accomplishes this step. And once we've embodied our divinity, then we're ready to consciously co-create our own personal version of paradise. So you can upgrade your home, business, community with what I call the Paradise Codes, which is an energetic blueprint for paradise. And I can download these codes onto a property, but they can also be transmitted and embodied by you. So my husband Casey and I, we host individuals and couples and groups here in Kauai to give people a full week-long immersion into the paradise frequencies and consciousness. And then, Debra, once you embody the paradise codes, you can create your paradise anywhere. And you'll be able then to also contribute your unique soul gifts to the planetary restoration of paradise on Earth.
Again, that's exactly what I know everybody listening to this call not only wants to do it for themselves, because I know my listeners, they want to do it for the planet. So that sounds amazing. And for us on the call today, what's the most important place for us to start? I mean, what do we need to focus on first?
Well, the 6 issues, and I would call them like basic programming errors that we have in our subconscious mind. And we all have them as humans because we've all been growing up in this world. So that subconscious programming is in there. Matter of fact, you might have heard Greg Braden or talked about his book, and he talked about the 5 myths or false assumptions of science, and they've all been recently proven wrong. And this is a synopsis. For the past 300 years, false scientific beliefs have portrayed us as insignificant beings that originated through a series of biological flukes. And then somehow we survived 5,000 years as powerless victims, separate from the harsh world we find ourselves in. So these false beliefs have permeated every aspect of our society. It's in our education, in our religion, in everything. And so it's become like the default programming in our subconscious mind. And so Einstein says that we can't find a solution from the same level of consciousness that created the problem. And so that's why there's such an urgent need to delete these programming errors so that we can think new thoughts and create something new. And every one of us is going to dramatize these programming errors in a very unique way. So I'd like us to look now at how the programming errors manifested in our lives very specifically. So Debra, is it okay for me to do the mini workshop now?
Yes, that would be fantastic. Know what the core issues are and start doing the deprogramming mini workshop. We're with you.
Okay, good. So grab a paper and something to write with. And what I'm going to do is guide you through the 6 programming errors, and then I'll prompt you when to write down about how they relate to your life. So the first one has to do with the role of males and male energy in our world and how we relate to them. So you can write on your piece of paper, male aspect. And in our first 7 years, everything that's going on in our environment is downloaded, unfiltered into our subconscious. We're in a brainwave state that's like hypnosis. So everything just goes in unfiltered. We record everything. So I'd like you to all think back and remember the significant males who were in your life in those first 7 years. Your father, your brothers, who are the males in your life. And now drop down a little deeper into your emotional center and just notice what you feel as I ask these questions. Was your father present physically, emotionally? Did you feel loved, honored, cherished, protected by your father? Did he tell you you were beautiful, smart, competent? Did he value your ideas? Did he encourage your dreams? So just feel into that. And now jot down some words or phrases that describe how you feel about yourself based on your experience with your father. Okay, and you can come back to this later if you want to go in deeper. So now I'd like you to look at what patterns did you download from your parents' relationship? What messages did you get, either overt or subliminal, from your mother about men? Can you trust them? Will they be there for you? And did your father trust your mother? What messages did you get about who you can trust in this world? And do you trust yourself? What did you download about what men think about women? So just jot down a few words or phrases about your attitudes in relation to trust and men. And have you noticed repeating relationship patterns over the course of your life? A lot of people are noticing that they have the same relationship over and over again, different faces, different places, yet the same pattern. So feel into that for a moment. And then just write down a few words about what is your predominant relationship pattern. And now, even if you're in a female body, you have a mind, which is also the male expression of energy. The mind likes to understand, to analyze, to figure things out. It's the part that wants to know the outcome before it happens. It likes predictability, and it's the part that makes the plans and takes the action. And the mind relies on the five senses for data input. So reflect for a minute, how much does your male mind trust your feminine heart, your emotions, your intuition? So write down a few words about the relationship between your heart and your mind. And here are just a few of the distortion patterns that arise from false male programming errors. So I'm going to read a few words, and you can just write down whatever ones you feel apply to you. So abandonment, betrayal, victimization, anger, rage, hatred, resentment, manipulation, control, enslavement. So that's a bit heavy, but now for the good news. After you detox your false programming about men and male energy, you can replace distrust and defense and constriction and develop the ability to deeply discern truth and integrity in yourself and others. And the negative memories and emotions of the past will be neutralized. So you'll be free to be present in the moment and respond consciously. And that's what all our teachers are saying. Be present in the moment and respond in a conscious manner. Then we'll be able to think new thoughts and create new decisions and make new actions and make wise and healthy choices. And get this, you'll be able to attract balanced, healthy, mature males to you because your outer relationships are going to shift to align with your new inner reality, the new improved relationship you have with your own inner male. So let's go on to the next programming error, which of course is false beliefs about females and female expressions of energy. So you can write down the words female aspect. So with the inner male brought into healthy balance, you're ready to heal and empower your inner female aspect. And even if you're in a male body, you have an inner female, which is often associated with emotions. It's the right hemisphere of the brain. So now remember in early childhood again, how did your parents deal with their emotions? And were you encouraged to express your emotions? What happened when you did? How safe was it to express your emotions? So write down a few words about what strategies you developed because of that, in dealing with your emotions. So in your first 7 years, you were naturally operating from the right hemisphere of your brain. And that deals with imagination, creativity, and the ability to sense subtle energies, the unseen energies. And you were probably drawn to nature and beauty. So was your imagination and creativity encouraged? Was it celebrated? Were you encouraged to express and trust the subtle energy you perceived, and what happened when you experienced something that no one else could see. So write down a few words about your feminine aspect and how easily is that expressed in your life now. Good. So the good news on this one is that when you detox your female programming errors, you will reactivate your feminine qualities of beauty, intuition, creativity, receptivity. A lot of us give and give and give, and we don't receive very well. It'll activate your ability to perceive energy and all the information that's not coming through the five senses. And you'll find you'll be able to trust your intuition and express your emotions and your creativity. And when your inner male and your inner female are healed and balanced, your inner child will feel safe to be in your body and on the planet. And just feel into that for a moment. Does your inner child even feel safe in your body? So the next programming error is fear. So you can write that on your paper. So once your inner family is balanced and strong and working together, then you're ready to face your fears. And fear is used to control behavior in family, in school, in churches, in industry, in business. So in our early childhood, these patterns were originally used to socialize you. So your parents were, wanting to train you to be able to fit into society. They meant well. But all of these messages about outside threats went into your subconscious, and then they became your inner voice. So write down, what is your number one fear? And when you feel fearful or worried, where do you feel it in your body? And how would you describe that feeling in a word or two? So the persistent cumulative effect of this fear stress can depress your immune system. And fear is constricting. It blocks your creative expression and your ability to explore and experiment with new ideas and new modes of approach to life. And it keeps you blocked and locked into a very small comfort zone. So feel into these questions for a moment. Just feel, are the walls of your comfort zone starting to close in on you? And is the physical, emotional, spiritual pain of staying the same in that comfort zone starting to outweigh the fear of the unknown? There's a quote that I like by Robert Allen: everything you want is just outside your comfort zone. So my biggest fear was losing my husband. And when I released my fear, everything shifted, and it became clear that that our contract was done. We were meant to part at that moment. And so I chose to end the marriage and go out on my own. And I've created a wonderful new life. And I was free to follow my inner guidance. And that took me on all kinds of wonderful adventures. So write down in a word or two what you will be free to do when you let go of your fear. And the next one is pain. human suffering. There's so much pain in this world. Isn't it time that we just transcend it? I mean, the good news is that in paradise, the frequencies of chronic pain are not present at all. And more good news, there is a way to easily and gracefully transcend pain and chronic trauma and drama, because you can't take it with you into paradise. So let's take a look at the pain for a moment. I'm going to read some examples of pain and just jot down the ones that you resonate with, that you feel applies to you. So emotional pain, such as sorrow, grief, despair, depression. Mental pain, such as resentment, bitterness, anguish, or those endless mind loops that kind of sap your energy and your time. Do you have physical pain from illness or injury? Do you experience spiritual pain, like not feeling connected to your true self or to the source? Do you feel you have no sense of purpose, or maybe you know your purpose, but for some reason you're not living it? So do you feel a deep pain of living a life that's not aligned with your heart and soul? You know, it takes a lot of energy to hide and suppress the pain, a lot of energy. So what if you could transform all that energy, all that pain energy, into pure love? Actually, it's much easier than you think. You can do it, and I can show you how. I can hold your hand and guide you through it. And I'd be honored to help you restore the true love that you are, because beneath all that pain is a bright love light. And I can see it when I look out at you. And I want you to see it. I want you to feel it. So the next programming error is guilt. And judgment and blame and guilt, these are also devices that have been used for control. So judgment is the mental part, and guilt is the emotional part that follows. So these can destroy your self-worth. And in those first 7 years, you download millions of little rules that you learn at home and at school, and you record the voice of your parents and your teachers. And then these voices are internalized in your subconscious programming. So even now, as an adult, your parents aren't around every day, but the inner critic keeps you in line with, by the way, obsolete rules and judgments that aren't even relevant anymore. So who here has a really loud inner critic? So answer these questions in a word or two. How does guilt and shame keep you stuck? And what does judging others do to your relationships? The truth is, you are a beautiful being of love light. So how much guilt and self-judgment and self-denial, or even self-pity, is preventing you from enjoying your life to the fullest? And the good news is there is a way to transform judgment and guilt into patterns of discernment. So you go from being judgmental to discerning, and you go from guilt into radiant joy. So who's ready for some joy? And here's one last core issue: lack. So lack, limitation, scarcity, separation, unfortunately, that's programmed into our consciousness from the moment we're born, and it's being reinforced continuously. And it's another core issue that we all share.
So remember back into your childhood again, and jot down a few words about your family's financial situation back then. Was there stress around money? What messages did you get about how easy or hard it was to get what you wanted or needed? And if your parents weren't wealthy, what did your parents say about wealthy people? If your family was considered comfortable or well off, did they worry about losing their wealth, or did they fear being taken advantage of? I've talked to so many people who uncover subconscious programming that keeps them from becoming prosperous because they're afraid about how others will respond to them. So they won't even let themselves go there at a subconscious level. So who here would love to always feel deep, complete trust and knowing that everything that you need to live your life in comfort and beauty is constantly flowing to you? And to really know that the resources necessary to fulfill your soul's purpose are going to show up in exactly the right time. So we've touched on the 6 programming errors that everyone needs to detox from their consciousness. This deprogramming is a necessary step if you want to be who you truly are, and if you want to do what you came here to do, and if you want to raise your vibration enough to align and evolve with Mother Earth as she restores our planet to the original paradise as it was created. And Debra, it's the necessary first step if you want to embody your human divinity.
Well, thank you. That was, when you said you were going to do a mini workshop, that was not even mini. That was that was so thorough, and I had some major insights about my own life and my own patterns. And I would love to know, what is it like to actually be free from toxic thoughts and emotions and subconscious programming? I mean, what would our lives look like?
Yeah. Well, I told my story, so I was able to create a whole new life and get clear enough to receive information from higher dimensions, from universal intelligence. And I was able to access my soul gifts, and that's, why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I'll give you some other examples, and the timing for this is perfect because, we're getting ready to have some holidays here, and getting together with family is usually, a lot of people will feel dread around that. So, and it's because they know that they're going to get triggered, and your birth family they're the worst ones for triggering your stuff. So it's such a good test of how well this deprogramming works when you get around your birth family. So what people say is things like, it was totally amazing. I watched my siblings torment each other like they always do. But this time, I did not participate in any of it. They tried to push my buttons, but it seems I didn't have any. And I just laughed at things that used to get me really hurt and upset. And after a while, they stopped trying to bait me. And I just stood back and watched with this new disengaged kind of feeling. It was really kind of comical to watch. And I knew that they were acting out their programming. And I actually had a deep sense of love and compassion for them. And I feel now so much in control of my own thoughts and emotions. And here's a quote from Debra. She was in a recent class. She says, my crown chakra opened and my heart has opened and it's full of joy. In fact, I get tears of joy because I'm allowing things in that are so touching. Colors are brighter. I have a greater appreciation for life in general, a higher level of trust, no longer feel the need to control everything because I let go of my fear. This has been a huge blessing for me. And here's one from a lady named Jean. After detoxing my pain programming, I was able to release chronic pain immediately. It's a miracle. And here's one from Abby on guilt. She said, before I took the class, I had just ended my career in a long-term relationship. So I was in a lot of depression for a long time. And my depression is completely gone now. And even more importantly than depression's gone, even more importantly, she says, after doing the guilt detox, I feel like I'm 16 years old again. I have energy and vitality that I haven't had for years. I trust in life more, and I'm not attached to outcomes. And here's one from Joe. I've known my life's purpose for a long time, but I stopped myself from going for it because I feared failure and I worried I would be disappointed. And after the lack detox, opportunities started just showing up that allowed me to gracefully step into my soul's purpose without any effort, and the resources started magically showing up to support me. So, Debra, it really brings me a lot of joy to hear my clients report these high levels of inner peace, more harmony in relationships, expanded intuition and synchronicity, and ease in manifesting whatever they want and need. I feel so blessed to be able to do this work. I think it's like the best gig in the whole world.
Well, it definitely is, and I want to know more about it. How does the program work?
Well, I use a simple, guided, systematic approach. So there are 6 detox sessions to coincide with the 6 core programming errors that we need to detox, right? So I deliver these detox sessions in a guided meditation style. So I guide you to relax and take you to a deep place where your programming resides. And I help you to access all levels of your consciousness, plus your emotional body, your physical body, your spiritual bodies, all at the same time. And this is what I mean by graceful transformation. I guide you step by step and give you the programming commands that will delete the old programming. And then I guide you to transform all the stored emotional energies into pure love. Now, the 6 detox sessions are recorded, and I have beautiful background music that was specifically designed by a sound healing professional to enhance the whole experience. And you're given an instruction manual that tells you exactly which recording to listen to in the correct sequence. And I recommend that people listen to 1 detox session per week and give yourself time to integrate in between, because when you change your programming on the inside, your outer world will start to change and align. So waiting a week or more in between helps you to make sure you don't initiate too many changes too quickly, because that wouldn't be graceful.
Well, you said something. You said you use a guided visualization to deliver your program. Mm-hmm. What if we're not good at meditating or visualizing? Will it still work?
Yeah. It still works, because it's not the kind of meditation where you're asked to clear your mind. And I use visual words, but what I'm doing is giving you a play-by-play about what's happening. So even if you're not visual, you're going to know what's happening. And the thing that makes it work is the combination of the energy, the frequency that I get you into, that connection to all levels of yourself, and the intentional commands. So it doesn't matter, Debra, if you don't know how to meditate or visualize, it works anyway.
Well, that's a relief for those of us who feel like we're not that great at visualizing. So thank you for clarifying that. And I would love for you to share with us exactly what the special offer is that you've created specifically for my listeners. And everyone who's listening, I highly encourage you to go to Suzanna's special offer right now and experience it for yourself. Simply click on the special offer button that's on this page. So can you walk us through what everyone will find there?
Right. Yes, I'd love to. So this is my Pathway to Paradise Step 1 package. And it includes all the sessions that we've talked about, and I've got some bonuses that support the process. So as you scroll down the page, you're going to see a session for each one of those 6 false programs. So you see there the male, the female, the fear, the pain, the guilt, the lack. One session for each of the core issues, one session per week for 6 weeks. So now if you scroll down to where it says support materials, you'll also get the empowerment guide, and that's the instructions. And this is everything that you need to move through the course. This is a do-it-yourself format. And next, you receive the Triple Flame Energy Field Detox Meditation. And I think this is why you chose the word aura, because this actually clears your energy field and your aura, and it does much more than that. And you're going to get instant access to this as soon as you sign up. So you're going to want to get started with this one right away. This is the meditation that has been experienced well over 100,000 people in the last couple of years, and they absolutely love it. It clears out your energy field so that your life force energy can flow freely through your body. And it prepares you for the deeper detox of the subconscious and the emotional body. And what I found is that when you clear out the energy body first, the aura, the detox of the deeper, denser stuff releases with much more grace and ease. And then you also get the integration meditation. And this is a meditation that you use after a detox session in that week in between where you're waiting to integrate. And it helps you to smooth the transition from your old programming to the new you that's emerging. And what I do in this one is I guide you to call in different frequencies of light, like love and joy and bliss and ecstasy. They're frequencies, and you can flood your body with them. And after doing this a couple of times, you're going to be able to change your state of being on command in an instant. How cool is that? We call this light training. So I've also included my peace and relaxation meditations, and you can use these anytime you want, and they support your graceful transformation. And then we have the 1-year membership to the Reality Crafting Online Support Network. So this is a private social network where you can connect with others who are also on their pathway to paradise. This is our community. And I'm available to answer your questions via email and give you online coaching in between the sessions that you're working on. And that's not all. You will also get access to the Radiant One activation. Now, this is a very beautiful movie meditation, and it actually activates your deep soul memory of who you are and why you're here. And this activation is really what started me on my pathway to paradise. So I'm really happy to be able to share it. And then you also get the very powerful I Am activation. And this is just a short 3-minute activation that shows you the geometry, the sacred geometry of your I Am presence and how to align with it. So some clients tell me that they watch it every morning, and it helps them to consciously create their day. And you get to detox how many decades, how many generations, really, of false programming, of not you programming, so that the true, beautiful love light that you are can come out and shine on the world. We're going to need sunglasses when you're done. So all you have to do now is click on the Add to Cart button and take that first step on your pathway to paradise. And I'm really excited and honored to share this journey with you.
Well, all I can say is you had me with the number one male aspect detox. When we were doing that in our mini workshop, I thought, okay, got to detox this area heavily. And then as you kept going through the fear and the guilt and lack, I thought, okay, I kind of couldn't wait till we got to the offer part. And this is such a generous offer and such a gorgeous offer. And I just personally want to thank you on everybody's behalf that you put together such an amazing and full and rich offer for us and then priced it at $97. I sincerely thank you for that.
My pleasure.
And I do hope that everybody takes advantage of it. Again, you can simply click on the special offer button that's on this page. I have one other question. What do you believe are the biggest benefits that people can expect to experience like right away, like as soon as they start with the very first component? And then what do you believe? I know you've shared with us some different experiences that people have had, but what do you hear the most often, the biggest benefit that people experience over time?
Well, the first thing that people experience is where they don't have the triggers anymore. Things that used to upset them don't. And so it immediately, they notice that. And it's like it shifts their relationships right away because they're not going into that automatic programmed behavior. So it improves relationships right away. And then the other big thing that they report is this inner peace. So this really deep core of inner peace so that no matter what is going on around them, they just know that they can handle it and that they can trust the universe. And the peace and the trust, I guess, go together, that they can trust life. I think Debra said that. I just trust in life more, and I feel peace and joy.
Okay,
and it snowballs because it keeps getting better because as you erase your old programming, you're going to start to manifest new things. So it's something that keeps building, and it's like a good snowball effect.
Wonderful. Okay. Well, all I can say is you have given us so much just on this call. This offer is so generous. We're very much looking forward to experiencing more and more benefits that you've so beautifully outlined. And from our experience that we had on the call, we know that they are truly accessible to all of us. And before we say goodbye, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I do. I want to say to all of you, the world needs you to be the beautiful being of love light that you really are. And we need you to contribute your unique gifts that your soul passionately wants to express. And I'd be honored to prepare you to give your gift to the world, your gift of you to the world.
And if there's anybody that could help us prepare to give our gift to the world, it's you, Suzanna. This has been incredible. Thank you so much for everything again and for being my guest today.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's my pleasure and my joy.
And thank you to everyone for spending this time with me and with Suzanna Kennedy. And I look forward to when we're all together again and for you to be living the reality that can be had through the knowledge that Suzanna has to share with us. So again, thank you to everybody. This is Debra Poneman. Have a wonderful rest of your day.